This is macOS Ken.
Sizing up the App Store, app tracking transparency changes in the EU, and Apple pledges support for Indonesia. It is Wednesday, the 19th of August, 2026. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by CoverOn. Safeguard your identity and save up to 76% off with code macOS at coveron.com/macOS. This show is also sponsored by Copilot Money. Your money, beautifully organized. Do you know how many recurring payments you have hitting various cards and accounts every month? Do you know where your various balances stand? Can you say for certain how your investments are doing? If your answer was somewhere between, and I think so, you should try Copilot Money. Copilot Money gathers your financial information in a way that is easy to access and always up to date. Easy for you to access, that is. Built with privacy in mind, Copilot Money has no ads, no upsells, and will not sell your information. Subscriptions, savings, deposits, investments. Copilot Money puts it all in a great interface on the web, as well as in beautiful apps for the Mac, iPhone, and iPad, all synced all the time. Keep track of your money with Copilot Money. Right now you can get 2 months free with code macOSKEN at copilot.money/macOSKEN. Featured by Apple as an app we love and a must-have finance app, you can try it for free for 2 months with offer code macOSKEN at copilot.money/macOSKEN. Copilot Money. Your money, beautifully organized. Try 2 months free with offer code macOSKEN at copilot.money/macOSKEN. Suddenly it sounds like Apple's services engine might be missing a cylinder. Several sites, including TechCrunch, wrote up changes for Apple's App Store across the European Union on Tuesday. The piece had Apple announcing a simplified commission structure for apps in the EU. Apple says the changes are being made to resolve Apple's disagreements with the European Commission over business terms and alternative distribution. According to TechCrunch, Apple will replace its per-install core technology fee with a flat 5% commission on digital goods and apps distributed outside the App Store or on the web. Apple also adjusted its rates for alternative payments and for its own in-app purchases, and made it easier for developers to open alternative app stores. It's not the first time Apple's made such changes, though simplicity may be the key this time. TechCrunch says changes made last year were more complex, prompting some to accuse Apple of exercising malicious compliance. Apple actually touts the new simplicity in its own announcement, saying the new rules reduce complexity by moving every developer that distributes apps in the EU to a single set of business terms. Developers can agree to the new terms now. TechCrunch says the announced changes will kick in on the 1st of October. All's well that ends well, then? One might say so, except a piece from AppleInsider expects more. While the new rules do not apply to U.S. companies that keep using Apple's walled garden, AppleInsider sees some of the EU changes coming soon to the States. The most obvious of those have been outlined in the link-out rules Apple has proposed in its interminable case with Epic Games. Last week, Apple suggested new commission rates for sales made outside the App Store. Those include 15% for standard apps, down from the 30% charged in the App Store, 10% for Video Partner Program, the News Partner Program, the Many Apps Partner Program, and subscription renewals, and 5% for apps in the Small Business Program. If those aren't an exact match for the new commissions in the EU, they're pretty close. Still, AppleInsider points out a major difference. The Epic activity is about linking out from Apple's App Store, while changes in the EU allow for third-party storefronts. Still, the piece says it would provide Apple a model for rolling out similar rules in other countries where it is persuaded to allow third-party app stores. Persuaded is a funny word in that sentence. Whatever the case, the AppleInsider piece seems to see Apple's newfound simplicity in the EU as a potential boon for developers all over. Here's the thing, though. The walled garden and the standard commission, these things have been good for Apple. In markets where it's been forced to relax its grip on in-app purchases, a piece from Mac Rumors says Apple's earned commissions have dropped. See, Mac Rumors says forced to AppleInsider's persuaded. Forced rings more true. Anyway, Mac Rumors highlights a piece from the Financial Times that had the firm App Figures indicating that Apple's U.S. commission revenue has fallen 18% since the start of this year. It also found App Store revenue declining in Brazil and Japan since both countries introduced new regulations. The same Mac Rumors piece has App Tracker Sensor Tower showing spending in the U.S. App Store down 6% in the June quarter versus growth of 9% for the same quarter a year ago. While that may be due in part to economic uncertainty, Sensor Tower indicates that the App Store slowdown in the States is due largely to anti-steering changes tied to the Epic Games case. The Mac Rumors piece says all of this follows Apple's earnings call admission last month that regulatory changes have started to weigh on its services growth. Apple reported services revenue of $30.7 billion for the June quarter, a record for the period, but short of the $31.4 billion that analysts had expected. Setting a record's not the worst. Still, at the extreme other end, App Store revenue could eventually go away. Yeah, I did say the extreme other end, right? AppleInsider has Apple warning of such a possibility in its most recent Form 10Q. The site has the company saying, if third-party developers use alternative methods of distribution and payment for their apps and digital content, including direct-to-consumer distribution models, the company may earn a lower commission on such sales. At worst, Apple adds, it may not earn a commission at all. Couple of things worth noting. First, while Sensor Tower had App Store spending down 6% in the US last quarter, globally, App Store spending was up 3%. That's down from 13% growth in the year-ago quarter, but it was still growth. The other thing to note, there is more to Apple's services segment than the App Store. Advertising, Apple Care, payment services, iCloud, Apple Music, and Apple TV also make deposits in Apple's services bank. Apple's tweaking the way its app tracking transparency rules are implemented in the European Union. Describing it simply, a piece from 9to5Mac says app tracking transparency lets users choose whether apps they install can track their behavior across other apps and across the web. A simple description, but things are rarely that simple. A piece from Engadget has German regulators saying the pop-up prompts Apple uses to let consumers either allow or deny such data collection are themselves anti-competitive. According to the piece, regulators accused Apple of not applying a level playing field across apps, claiming the wording, design, and selection options of the request used for Apple's own offerings had the potential to encourage users to give their consent, whereas they had the potential to discourage consent for third-party apps. Time then for new design and wording. Agreeing voluntarily to new app tracking transparency rules for the EU, the 9to5Mac piece I mentioned sees 8 changes on the way. They include changing the color of the graphic element on top of the prompt from orange to blue, updating the app tracking transparency prompt to be a full page, removing the word track from the app tracking transparency prompt and personalized ads prompt, changing choice buttons of app tracking transparency from allow and ask app not to track to allow, and reject, allowing formatting changes, for example, bold, italics, and bulleted lists in the app tracking transparency prompt, adding an option for developers to surface an additional page of information directly from the prompt to provide further GDRP information. Developers can already do this today using prompts they can show before the app tracking transparency prompt. Allowing developers to re-prompt users with the app tracking transparency prompt 1 year after they make a decision, whether the choice was yay or nay, and minor adjustments to the personalization ads prompt language for clarity without changing the effect or meaning of the message. Hey, what's this soapbox doing here? I wonder if it'll support me. I gotta say, I hate that Apple is bowing on this one. Just because apps were tracking such activity for years before people realized, doesn't mean we shouldn't call it what it is. Tracking. Apple should be allowed to use an attention-grabbing color like orange because this kind of behavior deserves attention. Still, it sounds like Apple was about to get hit. Best to roll with the punch, I suppose. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, CoverOn, a single service to protect your identity and finances. I can't even with the scams these days. I've got one family member who has been taken twice, once in a long con, and another time being scared into doing something rash. The really scary part? Both of those were years ago. Scammers keep getting better at what they do, and the tools they use keep getting sharper. Making it less scary is CoverOn. CoverOn provides all-round protection against identity theft. That includes credit monitoring, dark web surveillance, security alerts, and identity theft recovery. It also includes a range of insurance coverage, from cyber extortion to home title to online fraud. CoverOn isn't just about staying safe online. It's about protecting your money and making sure you can recover it if something goes wrong. Find out more and use code macOS for up to 76% off at coveron.com/macOS. Don't wait for the worst to happen. One scam can cost you everything. Use code macOS for up to 76% off at coveron.com/macOS. COVERON. CoverOn, a single service to protect your identity and finances. Use code macOS for up to 76% off at coveron.com/macOS. If it sounds insensitive to say I can't keep up with the number of natural disasters happening these days, I apologize. But somehow I didn't know about a recent earthquake in Indonesia until Apple pledged its support in the aftermath. The quake happened over the weekend, according to a piece from AppleInsider. A magnitude 7.7 earthquake hit eastern Indonesia on Sunday, sparking more than 1,000 aftershocks and claiming the lives of around 70 people. The Tuesday piece from AppleInsider had Apple CEO Tim Cook hitting social media to say, "Our hearts are with the people of Indonesia following the devastating earthquake. We are grateful for the first responders giving support and helping those in need. Apple is donating to support the relief efforts on the ground." A word of warning from Jersey Mike. On the heels of Monday's macOS Tahoe security update, listener Mike wrote to me from New Jersey saying, "I thought your listeners might benefit from my experience. I ran my 26.6.2 update Tuesday morning on my somewhat new 14-inch M5 MacBook. It took very long, nearly an hour. The update began as normal and rebooted. The progress bar went to about 50% and just stayed there. Was almost to the point where I was going to force a reboot. After doing a quick search on my phone, the internet told me to allow it to finish. As I always do what the internet tells me, I let it sit, and it did eventually finish. Well done, Mike. No doubt the internet is pleased with you. Apple Watch activity people, your next challenge is coming soon. Mac Rumors says the National Parks Activity Challenge is set for this Sunday, the 23rd of August. Sometime between now and then, your wearable should pop the message, earning this award is a walk in the park, or a run, or a hike, or a wheelchair push. Just record one of these workouts for 20 minutes or more on the 23rd of August. As usual, that'll earn participants a virtual medallion and a set of animated stickers. The piece also expects national parks-related content across other Apple services, as well as some sort of Apple Pay donation program. And finally today, if you're cool with spoilers, there is a trailer for Slow Horses you might want to see. 9to5Mac says Apple TV dropped a trailer for Season 6 of the show on Tuesday. Having read about it, I guess I'll go ahead and watch the trailer, but I kind of wish I hadn't read about it. I'd have rather had the reveals in the show, but that's me. Seasons 1 through 5 of Slow Horses are available to stream now on Apple TV. The spoiler-laden Season 6 trailer is up now on YouTube. That season begins its run on Wednesday, the 16th of September. macOS Ken, brought to you by me, and sponsored by Copilot Money. Get 2 months free with code macOS Ken at copilot.money/macOS Ken. This show is also sponsored by CoverOn. Safeguard your identity and save up to 76% off with code macOS at coveron.com/macOS. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macOS Ken at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macosken.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Leonard likes this post.